The Awake Shop by Rev Skip. Inspiration you can wear. Visit the Awake Shop and help change the planet. 10% of all proceeds will be donated to organizations that make a difference. Go to awakeshop.org today.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
You're in the flow with Rev Skip and Chad Bradford.
Faith, love, openness, and willingness. You're in the flow.
Subscribe, like, and share. Spread the love.
You're in the flow on the New Thought Media Network. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Flow with me, Rev Skip, and Chad Bradford. And Chad, are you in the mix here? Where are you, brother? There you go.
I'm waiting in wings.
waiting wings. Okay, we're getting our flow together here today. And if you're in the flow, you have faith that a transformation can happen. You love yourself through the process. Be open and willing to have a new experience. And we welcome you. If this is your first time, we invite you to like, love, share. Please, if you're listening to the podcast for the first time, leave a comment. That's how we get to spread the love. We get to spread the flow. Welcome. How you doing, brother? You good?
I am today. I am good. This past couple of weeks, it's been challenging. I even reached out to you a few days ago, and I was like, Skip, please just send up a prayer for me.
Yeah.
and you did, and it's just it was a challenging couple of weeks for I think a lot of reasons, but I just want to reiterate what you say about transformation as a choice. Sometimes we think about transformation as being this huge thing. We're going to become somebody new, and we're going to do this, and we're going to, reach the heights of, our capitalistic world. But really, those transformations, they can happen in milliseconds, and it's not just. And most of them, that we can only be right here, right now, choosing right in this second. Your prayer for me really helped. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm very aware of what did Bob Thurman say a few weeks back. Bliss is just realizing right where you are at any time. That is bliss.
Yes.
That is the pathway of the Buddhists.
Yes. And we can take those moments. This is a new moment. This is a new moment. And we can choose how to perceive reality in each and every moment. And we can do, there's so many resources now. We have you on Insight Timer. People can just click in and you can pray them up right there in their couch or in their bed. But all that to say, Skip, you have some amazing new chapters and turning of the page going on in your life. What's going on, brother?
My brother from another mother. Let me tell you, we're going to get down to the get down. I always say, let's get down with the get down. As you see, and people that are online with me right now, you see this beautiful scrim back here, this curtain back
Yes.
here, because all my stuff is in a box to Florida, boo. My car,
Yes.
my podcast equipment, everything, my clothes, and my life is on a truck right now to Florida, and that's where I'm heading. Yeah, it's an incredible journey that I'm about to take here. I'm going to CSL Fort Lauderdale, which I've been saying on the podcast quite a bit, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the new phase, although this is probably the most stressful time, the experience of packing up your life. And most of my stuff is in a storage, so I didn't get a chance to go and like clean stuff out and have a garage sale. I'm gonna have to do that when I get to Florida.
I hear you.
So I'm really looking forward to next week. I'm going to be heading to see my mother in New Jersey. I'm going to spend 5 days with family. Shout out to my brother, Thomas Jennings. He's opening up Jennings Funeral Home that he's been working on for about, I would say, it's probably as long as I was in ministerial school. He's been working on getting his own funeral home. So it's about to open up. So we're going home to celebrate that. And so the Jennings brothers, we got a lot to celebrate. And I'm just so grateful that I get to spend some time with the family before I always say we, because it's me and God, we jump head on in to the land of Florida, where I've been called to do some work there. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful, brother. I'm grateful. Yeah. So, you and I, we share so many things that are very common. And I love that shared experience you talked about. We both love yoga.
Yes. We
both do the yoga thing that we talked about on the podcast, and our guest is going to be talking about some yoga today and how we do our, clean up and do the grief thing through some yoga.
Yes. Skip, we've had some amazing guests on, and I feel like I've benefited so much from researching their work, reading through their materials, and Paul's work is like, it just falls right in line with that. I mean, reading his stuff, so many things were stirring within me. It even brought me to tears at times, because I realized how we just don't talk about grief in our culture.
We don't, especially men, dude. We just like strong. We have been taught to be, strong, powerful, rock hard, don't cry. And men have a way of going, how you doing? Fine. How you doing? And we have a way of deflecting the grief off of ourselves, and we've talked about this before. You're showing your baby girl how to, share her grief and to have a man in her life or a father figure in her life to saying, yeah, I'm hurting here. This is what I'm going through. It's going to shift the next generation. So yeah. And before we get down, dude, where'd you get that hat from?
Hey, yes. Gotta model it out.
You stole that hat, man. I want one.
Honestly, I think my dear wife Sharon bought me this, so I can't take credit for it. I'll just wear it, and yeah.
All right. Let's do this.
And now it's time for our wellness wake up.
All right, y'all. So the Wellness Wake Up is here. This comes from my book, Little Book for Big Transformation. And I say this: your inner strength empowers your outer strength. So, Chad and I have talked about this. There have been times where, we try to get the muscles, we try to be all manly, get the muscles, lift the weights, do all that, and have that, that Adonis look, because this is something that we grew up wanting to have. And Chad, you're an actor, and me being in fitness is all about the outer body. But I am very, very clear that the most important strength that we can have is inner strength. And the inner strength I'm talking about today is knowing who and what you are, knowing your divine connection that empowers everything that you do. May it be lifting weights, or being a great father, or being a podcaster, or writing books. It is our inner strength that counts. Now, here's the truth. Our inner strength will manifest as outer strength. It will manifest into the body you want. It will manifest in the life you want. But we are here to cultivate our inner strength first. Brother Chad?
Oh, so true. You got to practice before you power lift.
Hey, now.
Yes. I just think about, times in my life when you need that literal physical strength, just even if you're just walking through the day.
Mhm.
And it really does manifest when you're on the mat, when you're on your cushion, and it sets you up. It sets you up for that outer strength to do the things that you need to do in the world, and things just flow better. I think about the Dalai Lama. He's, I can't. This may be lore. This may not be true, but I remember reading a quote about. He says, I normally meditate 2 hours a day, but if I have a lot to do, I'll meditate for 4 hours. It actually
Yeah.
creates time for us in a
Yeah, because
strange
you
metaphysical
cannot.
way.
If you say you do not have time to meditate, then you do not. That's we got to make time for that. You don't have time not to meditate. So I agree with that absolutely. Yep. Good one.
Yes.
Good one.
Yes.
Let's go on. Let's do this. It's time for the quotable ponder.
All right. So our quotable ponder today comes from our guest. He says, many of us are afraid of surrender, but there's something incredibly relieving about it. In fact, it brings us to a place of strength because we become connected to something greater than ourselves. It's seemingly a paradox that we can find strength through surrender. But I've found for me that surrender is really opening up an invitation to something greater than my own strength, than my own perception. The Course in Miracles talks about one of the greatest prayers that you can say is, Holy Spirit, help me to see this differently.
Mhm.
Shakespeare says, time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie. So time, the Holy Spirit, something metaphysical, letting that come into our lives, surrendering to that kind of energy rather than relying on the little s self, the little s ego. Yeah.
I love that. The word surrender for me, I had to get a new meaning when I began this journey of new thought and into the spiritual, deepening my spiritual practices. Surrender for me always means to give up. I'm reminded of that line in The Wizard of Oz where the witch is flying in the air. She goes, surrender, Dorothy, surrender. and so that was my version of surrender. But surrendering was understanding that there is a power greater than my human self. There's a power
Yes.
that I can surrender to that makes all things happen. Like the quote we're talking about before, your inner strength comes from a surrendering to a power greater than the human experience. And that includes grief. That includes your
Yes.
heartaches, and that includes because we have a way of making our grief and heartache becomes our higher power, and we are surrendering to that. Why? It's
Yes.
because that's all we've ever known. We've only known unhappiness. We've only known that place where it feels like life is falling apart. And we surrender to that and we say, okay, that's how it is, how it's always going to be. It's never going to change. It's going to be it. But we're here to tell you it is going to change. It is going to get better. But what we always say at the end of the show, what, Chad? Transformation is a choice. And you can choose today.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I got to say, just briefly, when I was kind of undergoing kind of my first big existential shift, growing into adulthood, I got fascinated by the book of Job, of course, in the Old Testament.
Now you're going to go deep. You're going deep there into the biblical times. You're gonna Bible five people. Okay, go ahead, brother. I can roll with the Bible, yo, because I love me some Bible. Not everyone who's listening today can get with the Bible, but go ahead, talk about Brother Job, please.
I tell you, one of the things that was so illuminating in what you were saying just made me think of it, about this idea of surrender, right?
Yeah.
And how we have a perception of it. So I got into some really interesting readings, and they talked about the difference between surrender and submission.
Yes.
That we can feel as if we're being beat into submission. You think about boxing or MMA, and that you just submit. You say, I can't take it anymore. Whereas surrender is an invitation. It's something that you're willingly entering into. It's a contract that you willingly are signing with the universe. And that distinction has really helped me.
See, I was just going to say, this is why I love you, brother. You can go from Job to mixed martial arts. Really, brother? In that one sentence, you went from Job to MMA. So, dude, I don't know. I think we need to start to bring our guests into the mix because,
You're probably right.
I mean, I feel like, do I have the faith of Job today to get through this move, to get through this conversation? But let's bring our guests into the mix. Go ahead and read the bio, please. Let's read the bio first, and then we'll get to our conversation. Yeah, let's go read the bio, please.
Paul Denniston, he's the founder of Grief Yoga, which uses yoga, movement, breath, and sound to release pain and suffering, to connect to empowerment and love. Paul is a certified Hatha yoga, Vinyasa flow, Kundalini yoga, restorative yoga, laughter yoga, and let your yoga dance. He has also taught movement at the Stella Adler Academy in Hollywood. His intention with grief yoga is to combine many different forms of yoga to channel and release anger and allow unresolved grief a compassionate space to breathe and be released. His compassionate work is a space of movement, transformation, and healing. Paul has taught and trained this practice to thousands of therapists, counselors, and healthcare professionals around the world and teaches workshops around the U.S. He teaches, this is a new word for me, Kripalu, Center for Yoga and Health, and offers workshops on healing after breakup, divorce, all kinds of things, teachings to bereavement groups. His recent book, Healing Through Yoga, Transformation, Loss into Empowerment, is being released through Chronicle Books on January 18th. For more information, visit griefyoga.com. We've got to get Paul in here.
Yes, come on in, brother. Oh, there you are. Hey, man.
Let me join the party. Come on in. All right, I'm here.
This is why I had Chad read the bio, because what's that word in the place where you teach? Krimalu? I'm going to have Chad read the bio.
I love it. It's called actually Kripalu, but it's so funny. It's like one of the biggest yoga institutes in the country, and David Letterman would always joke about it. He would call it Cripple You. So just emphasizing, it is called Kripalu.
Thank you. Welcome, Paul. Welcome. How you doing today, man? What's going on?
I'm good. I just want you to know that I'm so much in the flow that I actually have a personalized license plate on my car that says flowing.
What?
Beautiful.
I do. It's a personal. So when I'm driving down the 405, I'm literally flowing.
Wow.
I love that.
We're going to have to find some way to compensate you for, advertising on
Yes.
Los Angeles.
Absolutely. Hey, Paul, we like to ask our guests when they come in, how have you been living through this pandemic? And, I have this conversation with people all the time, and some people are going, well, don't you think it's over, Rev? I'm going, I think we're still in the midst of learning the lessons we need to learn. So how have you been flowing through the pandemic?
I was just walking earlier today with my dog, and I noticed that, even just someone coming up towards me, they literally were like moving around me to make sure that they didn't get close to me. And it just made me think about how, one of the unfortunate things about this pandemic is that it's disconnected us in many ways. People are afraid to get close to one another. I certainly know that so much has shifted and changed in this pandemic. I mean, for me personally, it's helped me to learn the art of adapting. But I also just recognize, especially with the work that I'm doing, just witnessing so much loss of loved ones, loss of jobs, loss of opportunities, vacations, weddings. There's just so much loss in that space. So it's people feel isolated and disconnected too, I think, a lot of the times during this.
Absolutely.
Right. Paul, we're just so glad to have you on today because, as I was saying before, your book just stirred so many feelings inside of me. And this whole idea of grief yoga and using yoga or using grief not just as something we got to push through, but using it as a vehicle for empowerment is just mind blowing. I just wonder if you could just talk to us just a little bit before we get deep in how you came to this kind of work.
Just hearing y'all talk earlier about how, as men, we're really not taught to grieve. A lot of us are like, don't cry, go do something about it. It's certainly, for me growing up in Texas and having a father who was a Southern Baptist minister, either grief or anger were certainly judged or felt like they needed to be turned over to God or suppressed. Be blessed, be grateful, be happy. And that just wasn't realistic to me. And I would also witness my mother didn't attend her father's funeral and held regret about that, but didn't know how to express it. My father was challenged with anger and he would suppress it and then it would explode and it would be frightening. And I would do the same thing. I would suppress my sadness and I would go into a shell just like a little turtle. I would hold that anger in and it would burst out and I would get into fights. And then I would be like, anger is dangerous. So instead I suppressed it and then became just so cruel to myself with my own thoughts. So, I don't feel like we're really ever taught to grieve or to deal with these challenging emotions.
Yeah. When you think about this is, the first thing that we always, when a child falls down and they start to cry, we are always the first ones to say, oh, honey, don't cry. It's going to be okay. And understanding that we are absolutely squashing an emotion by saying,
Correct.
Don't cry. Because that's a part of life. Tears is going to happen. Grief is going to happen. Why do you think people do not want to experience their grief?
It's vulnerable. It's painful. It hurts. It takes us into a deep place of pain. And many times with the work that I do too, people are like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to go into the pain. But the truth of the matter is you actually carry the pain inside of you. Your body remembers the pain. And so in some of the ways, I'm just doing work to help to acknowledge the pain and to move it through. And I also am a big believer within life. We're filled with many different colors. And even just as children, going back to that, we were happy, we were sad, we were angry. And yet as we become older, we judge that specific emotions are inappropriate. So it's really about, I know that my work is about grief yoga, but it's also embracing all of it. There are many different colors to who we are.
Yeah, and I love that, it's also, if you see the website, it's Healing Through Yoga, which understanding the healing through yoga is what we're actually doing. You have grief yoga as well, but if you look at it, we're saying it's healing through yoga, and let's look at the grief that we're holding on to, but it's the yoga that's healing us. Yeah.
And think of what yoga means union. Connection. And a lot of the times when we're experiencing grief and loss, we are literally disconnected. Maybe it's from someone or something that we loved. And so the heart of what yoga is about compassion. How can we be more compassionate to ourselves in the pain?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. There is a quote, excuse me, I want to bring up that is on page 28 that speaks to what you just said. You say, grief is a nurturing caretaker that helps mend a broken heart. It opens the wound and creates space for sadness and longing to breathe. When loss occurs, we long for things to be the way they were. But when we accept the change little by little and sit with the loss, we can connect to a wholeness and resiliency within that can allow us to keep loving. I don't think I've ever read anything about grief that felt so empowering and stirred such compassion in me than reading through the first part of this book, Paul. I just wonder how you came to some of these insights or what what has happened in some of your work that has brought about such compassion around the topic of grief?
Well, first off, here's the way I look at grief. Grief is love. Grief is the expression of love. And I know that many people, like, I have to say, grief is my friend. And I didn't always think that. I thought grief was an enemy, a downer, and something I would try to run away from. And yet, as I was going to yoga classes, trying to find peace, trying to find connection, what would come up for me is anger, would be anxiety, and it would be about grief. And instead of running away from it, what if I allowed myself to move with it and to be with it? And so as I became a yoga teacher, I got really fascinated in, where am I holding this grief, this anger? Where is it in the body? I got very curious about that space. And I was also learning about grief and loss experts, about where we can hold the trauma, where we can get stuck within our lives.
Yeah.
And just as I was, as a yoga teacher, was really drawn to intentions within a class, I really was drawn to, what if I created an entire practice with the intention to how to move through grief, to actually, I spent so many years trying to run away from the pain that I thought, what if I channel the pain? What if we took it in an empowering way and used the pain as fuel to help us tap into the grief and the love?
Yeah. So, I love where we get to these big, huge questions in life. And the first one we're going to ask you is, who are you, my friend? If I would ask you, who are you? Who are you? How do you answer that?
God, my first thought is I'm a divine love warrior. I mean, that's the first thing that just came to mind.
We can roll with that. That's good.
Okay,
hey,
that's who I
be
am.
open. Okay. We can get down on that. That's awesome. Yes.
Okay, right on. Who am I? You know what? I'm a spirit. I am a man. I am caring. I am broken yet whole. I am sad yet hopeful. I am angry yet have purpose. I am a person that can know that sadness and loss can live, and yet also I can also laugh. That's kind of who I am. It's like I used to wear this. When I was a kid, I had this coat, and I called it my Joseph of many colors, my coat of many colors. And for some reason, I know I probably looked ridiculous in it, but I just resonated so much with it, because I was like, I'm all these different colors. They're all a part of me.
I love it. I love
That's
it.
gorgeous.
Hey, Chad, did you ever play Joseph? Did you ever play that part, Joseph?
No, I never played Joseph. I got to do a few other things, but I never got to wear that cute loincloth on stage.
Right.
Maybe someday.
All right.
That really makes me think, Paul, of that book by Mark Epstein, who's he works as a psychologist, and he's also a Buddhist practitioner, called Going to Pieces Without Falling Apart. Talking about being broken, but also being whole. That part of the struggle with grief is that we feel as if we have to hold it together. I got to hold it together. And the thing I appreciate, that I love about your book, is that it's not dry. You actually give us stories that keep us hooked and keep us wondering, what's going to happen with Leslie? What's going to happen with Wanda? How are they going to get through this? And it's not about necessarily pushing through. Again, it's healing through, not pushing against. I wonder if you can talk about that just a little bit. The dichotomy, we think we have to hold it together rather than allowing that vulnerability to come in.
Right. Well, and also, just when you talk about through, it makes me literally come back to that whole place of flowing. And, when you were talking earlier about that space of surrender, I recognize how sometimes it feels like we want to grasp, we want to hold on, we want to try to control things. And in that space of surrender, what if that is a little bit of a softening and a letting go? Maybe it's a little bit of a surrender to the sorrow and the sadness. Perhaps it's a little bit of a releasing and letting go and coming into a place of like of trust and connection to higher power. You know, I got to tell you, I didn't. A lot of this work I dedicate to my sister. This is a picture of her right here. I dedicate the book to her, and she passed away from cancer. And I tell you, I didn't want to surrender my sister. She was my best friend. And there was a place that I had to get to that was about trust. And there was a trust in letting go. And perhaps it's surrendering to the mystery. I'll see you in heaven. I'll see you, you know, there's a space of letting go and being with and moving with, whether it's feelings or just life in general, that help me to just maybe lean into trust.
Yeah, and that's the premise of the show. We call it flow. You know, it's just leaning into the experience and finding that. And you know, my next question to you is your spiritual awakening. If you could tell us a little bit of your spiritual awakening and explain what is a spiritual awakening. When someone comes to your yoga class and they want to wake up, what is that? But I want to hear about your story as well, your experience of awakening.
Probably my spiritual awakening was probably, I would say, about 10 years ago, after I had finished my first yoga teacher training. I had fallen down because I was probably still running away from grief as fast as I can. And I was literally felt broken physically, broken emotionally. I was trying to avoid challenging emotions through drugs, through sex, drugs, and rock and roll, anything I could do it. And my spiritual awakening in that space was, first off, it was about surrendering to these feelings. For me, it was about surrendering to these things, these coping mechanisms, drugs, alcohol, that were no longer serving me. And finding a way to kind of like, you know what a big part of it was, and sometimes this is what I do in my meditation. It's just a little bit like, help me. That was my spiritual awakening. It can be either a prayer to higher power. It could be help me to someone who I need, you know, to help me. So knowing that asking for help can be a powerful thing to do. But also my spiritual awakening too was to say, you know what? Give back here. Recognize that helping is healing, and that
Yeah.
there are so many people who are struggling right now. So tell you what, create a movement practice that can be helpful to you, but also can be of service to others. And that's how I kind of like my spiritual awakening also is like, and I dedicate this to my sister. And how can I be of service? Use me.
And you also write in your book, and I love this quote that you say this. It says, it's possible to move with your grief to discover what might be on the other side, a place of grieving that is empowered, that is strong and alive. And if that's not a deep spiritual awakening, I don't know what is. That we can move with the grief, we can be with the grief to see what's going to happen. So thank you for writing that. That's powerful.
Well, I'll tell you, and part of that too, and this is as I work with people too. Look, here's the thing: grief is exhausting. We feel drained.
Oh
We
yeah.
feel exhausted. You know, I mean, come on,
Yes.
hello, amen, and
Amen.
amen. So here's one of the things I'm like, if I'm going into this work, I've got to empower the person, because if we come from a place of strength and power, it can help us to hold maybe the place where we're feeling broken, the place where we're hurting. So with the practice that I do, I'm doing movement, breath, and sound to help them to tap into their warrior strength so they can hold the grief and they can hold the love.
Wow.
Beautiful. One thing you say, we're just throwing these quotes at you because they just affected us so much.
Bring it on.
You know what's so funny when I'm on a podcast about my book, when the interviewer says, and on page of the day you wrote this. I'm saying thank God, because I don't remember writing that. But thank you, and I'm glad I know it's in there. I know it's in there. Do you ever get that too, Paul? Sometimes it's like, what did you mean on page 26? What did I say?
It's really crazy because this is okay. So let me tell you, this is my first book, right? And so it hasn't even, it's coming out January 18th. So as I've been doing like publicity for the book and stuff like that, people are talking about the book, and I'm like, oh, they've read it. Oh my gosh, wow. Oh, they're actually addressing a specific page, and it's almost a little like I've been working on this for so long. So when people start reading quotes, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I did say that, didn't I?
Right.
I'm like, thank you. Oh, that was okay. All right.
Okay. Chad, throw him another quote so you can surprise him. Surprise the brother.
Here you go, Paul.
Surprise me, brother.
Well, just what you were saying about well, there's two things. I'll save that quote for later, but because I do want to address this, is what you were talking about having some kind of movement, right? That's accompanying this kind of work. And you briefly get into some of the physiological stuff that happens to a person when they're doing it, when they're using movement, when they're and rather than just thinking their way through grief. Correct. And so I wonder if you can talk about what the differentiation is between sitting and stewing and thinking versus using our body. What is that physiological thing that's happening?
I think healing is important to be with it. Meditation is a powerful thing to help us to sit in presence with it. But I also think that healing needs motion. And emotion is energy in motion. And so our body remembers the pain and the trauma, and we got the issues in the tissues. And so I think that we need to find ways where we can channel and move the pain through. I think of it sometimes like, so y'all are big on transformation, and this work is based on in the book. It's called The Cycle of Compassionate Transformation. It goes from awareness to expression, connection, surrender, and evolution. And within this movement ritual here, the importance of movement is we need to express the pain, because a lot of the times it gets suppressed and pent up. And so expression, movement, breath, and sound is about taking the pain, and instead of running away from it, what if you channeled it in empowering ways, which is intentional because once you start to kind of like empty the pain out, then you can start to fill yourself up with, which is where we move into connection, which is about finding gratitude and grace and love within self and others and spirit. But I'm a big believer in not spiritually bypassing the pain. We want to move through the pain.
Yeah, absolutely. Awareness helps us to become present, to deepen the breath, to quiet the mind, and to feel safe. Who said that? Oh, it was you. It was you, Paul. Yeah, you said that. So
who said that? Well, that was
who
me.
said that? It was you. But the awareness part, which I love, how so much about awareness is the key to all of our transformation. Right. Do you believe you're living your purpose? Do you believe this is why you came to this planet to do this work? Is this your purpose?
Yeah, purpose is a very important word for me, and because it's my lighthouse. It helps to shine the way, especially in moments of darkness. And for me, what my purpose is, and I figured this out like 20 years ago as I was working with a life coach, and I wanted to create it in a very simple way. And for me, my purpose is to create things that is of service to others. And there was many times at that time where I'm like, those two weren't connected. I was like, I was going to create things and I would do that. And then there was times where I would be of service to others. And so within this work, it was really one of the first times where it was like, now they're both coming together. And it was in some ways, it helped me to tap into something that was meaningful for me, that help me to connect deeper and to be of service to help others feel more empowered and move through their struggle. So for me, I feel like, yes, this is my purpose. And I got to recognize too that sometimes when people go through deep loss, their purpose changes. I think some people
Yes.
might be intimidated by the word purpose. And that's why I keep it very simple. But I also recognize purpose is just a beacon of light to help me to move through the darkness. That's how I find it.
We always say, and this is Reverend Michael Beckwith always says this, that we are people on purpose with a purpose, whether we realize it or not. And it's so important that I believe the word purpose for me, part of the creating the show, I really want a kind of a question where people can really explain what purpose means to the guests, because purpose is different for everyone. And like we had Jason Mitchell on last week, and he was like, purpose is just being, just being. And I love how you said purpose. And beautiful, beautiful.
I think a little bit for purpose for me too is taking what is unique and what is special in your gift and being able to share it with others. That's what resonates for me with purpose.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, that idea that we are endowed with these unique talents, gifts, and capacities, and that the expression of those is why we're here.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's something that's empowering and not panicky about that, because I feel like
I like that. Empowering, not panicky.
Yeah, we get so worried. Am I on purpose? Am I doing the things that I need to do? But your definition there allows us to kind of live and lean into just who we are authentically.
And purpose can also, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Like as I was working with someone who was intimidated by the word purpose, as they were reflecting on, this client that I had, her son had died, and she, didn't know what to do. And she was like, you know what? She was like, Chad, he loved these cookies. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bake these cookies, and I'm going to remember him. And then I'm going to take these cookies and I'm going to share it with others. And in some ways, it's a little bit about, her purpose was sharing a little bit of what was meaningful to Chad and her, and sharing it out. That could be purpose right there.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So this is the time, this is probably my favorite part of the show other than being with Chad, but this is the time where we get to do something we call the yes moment. And the yes moment simply means you expressing spirit, where Chad and I just kick back and let the guests do their thing. So everyone, this is our brother Paul Denniston doing his yes moment.
Thank you. All right. Well, for me, spirit can be an expression of love. So I'm just going to invite you in this moment to just take a moment and feel yourself seated on your chair or wherever you are. Just start to find a safe place to breathe. And let's just take a deep inhale and a deep exhale. I invite you to place one hand on your heart and allow the other hand to hold that right there. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, you're welcome to do that, or maybe just close them part of the way and take a moment and tune into how your heart is feeling right now. Just breathe and accept whatever's going on. And if you're comfortable with your eyes closed, if your heart is missing someone, maybe this person has physically passed, or just who does your heart miss? Take a moment and tune into that. With your eyes closed, in your mind's eye, I invite you to envision that person happy, healthy, their face glowing, looking at you with love. I invite you to say their name out loud. Ella. I invite you to release your hands out in front of you as if they were an empty bowl in front of your heart. I invite you to remember a time you had with them that you will always cherish. In your mind's eye, see that experience. Maybe see something specific. And when you see it, I invite you to say yes and place your hands on your heart.
Yes.
Yes. I invite you to release your hands out in front of you again, as if you were just wanting more. Remember a quality about who they were that you will cherish. And when you see it and feel it, say yes and bring it to your heart.
Yes.
Yes. Allow your prayer to come to your heart. You know, sometimes they say grief is love with nowhere to go. In this space, I'm going to give you the space to let it move. Inhale and lift your hands up over your head. Release it and just say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. One more time here. Palms together. Lift it up and just say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Bring one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just silently say that to yourself here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was really that was
Thank you.
powerful, man. That was what? I will share, and I'm not going to ask Chad to share who he brought in, but I will share mine. It's been very challenging. The last 2 years, I've had the privilege and the honor to be with my best friend through the pandemic, and we've gotten close every day. And I got to tell you, the process of me leaving on Monday, I've been missing him. Been feeling the grief of missing, and you helped me to articulate it, but you helped me just to heal it. So, and the other thing too is to recognize that we can do this practice at any time. Anytime
Right.
that we're feeling it is at hand now. God is at hand now.
Yes.
Healing's at hand now. Yoga's at hand now. We don't have to wait till we get on the mat to experience this. Look at it. We're right in our chair.
Right.
Yes.
And it gives us a place of, you know, in that space, what we did just now was we found connection within ourself, checking
Yes.
into ourself. And there was something about connection to spirit too, in a way, as we started to express it and move it through, expressing that love and that gratitude.
Mhm.
That's
Lovely.
expressing spirit to me.
Yes. I'll hold on to one thing you said for sure. This idea that grief is love with nowhere to go.
Oh, that
Because
was good.
through these movements, you feel that release, letting it move and letting it work the way it needs to. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's so good, so good. Okay, so Kim, I love it. I love on this where people can drop their comments into the feed, and I love the interaction of the pod. What did it say? Did I miss that? The last word? Oh, there you go. The podcast. Thanks, Doc. I love that, and that's from Kim Bradford. Thank you for dropping that comment in there. So your book is coming out when? When is that coming out? Very soon, right?
January 18th is when the book comes out. Yes. And I also created, as a companion course for anybody who pre-orders the book, there's a companion course called Healing Healing through the book's called Healing Through Yoga. And let me get my book.
But you wrote it. But you wrote it, right, brother? You did. You wrote that, right?
Hold on 1 second. Let me say the name of the book correctly. Okay. The name of the book is Healing Through Yoga, and the online course is called Transform Loss into Empowerment. So healingthroughyoga.com, you can find more information about it there.
I love that. That is so awesome. And you know what? Excuse me. I got to go back. I get to do a little back step. Was that your mama that dropped that note in there?
It was 100% my mama. Yes.
That just went over my head.
Your mama loves you.
Thank you, Bradford.
Thank you, mama.
That's your mama.
That's your mama. Hey, mama.
Hey,
She
mama.
supports her baby.
Oh my goodness, that is so awesome. So awesome. Hey everyone, please follow Paul, and because he's doing some really empowering work. And if you're experiencing any type of grief, please reach out. The healing's at hand now. We don't have to wait. We don't have to wait until this pandemic is over, or if you're in the middle of something, you do not have to suffer through. As the Buddha says, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. We can choose not to. We can choose not to suffer through this. So let's put up the website one more time, Diego. We can get his website up for our viewers and for our listeners, guys. Please check out this website, healingthroughyoga.com. And I love what he has in the little byline underneath it. It says, your love matters. And that's a very important thing to remember. Very important thing. Hey, Chad, I'm going to ask you a few questions very quickly.
Okay.
Next week, who are we having on the show? And isn't your Macbeth happening next week as well? Are we going to be talking about Macbeth next week? Are we going to be talking about Macbeth next week?
Big time.
Okay.
Yes. We've got Courtney Bennett coming on next week. She is an astrologer. She is a tarot card reader, and she's also playing Lady Macbeth in the production.
I love it. I love it. So it's going to be a Macbeth kind of thing next week, because I'm going to actually be in Jersey with my mama. And so maybe we might get my mama to do a little wave in and say hi to your mama, because your mama got upstaged us today.
Hey, she is infamous around these parts.
Love it.
Her standing ovations are a show within themselves. We'll let our moms host next week. We'll see how that goes.
That's it. Hosting for the moms.
Yes.
So if you're in the Arkansas area, where can they come and see the show, Chad? Is it tickets available?
You go to centralarkansasstickets.com. It's at the Little Rock Studio Theater in downtown Little Rock on 7th Street. And this is a collaboration between the Studio Theater and Shake on the Lake Theater Company in New York. So we've got all kinds of people from different organizations partnering to bring this to life.
Yes. And where can people find you, Chad, if they want to reach out and support you have something you call Voices Uncaged, and you know what? You're making a difference for incarcerated people. So thank you for the work you're doing. Where can people find you?
Yes, you can hit me up, voicesuncaged.org. Contact me through there. Also, chad-bradford.com.
Yes. Awesome. And everyone, you can follow me on all the socials. I am at Rev Skip Jennings on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram. Now, I can be honest, I don't tweet all that much, and I don't get Twitter, but I might drop a little tweet here and there. But find me on Instagram and Facebook. Also, please, if you enjoy what we're doing here, this is a ministry. We're here to share love across the globe. Please come to ntmedia.org/donate and support. It's a law of circulation. As you send out the kindness of your heart, you will receive, and we know it works here. Also, you can support Rev Skip, because Rev Skip is moving, y'all. This move was highly expensive, I gotta say. Go to Venmo. Go to Venmo or PayPal. If you go to Venmo, look for at Rev Skip Jennings. That is me, at Rev Skip Jennings, and that goes to help support my ministry. And if you go to PayPal, just look up Skip at skipjennings.com and help us to spread the word. Also, you can take me home and not cook me breakfast. Go to my website, skipjennings.com, where you can find out more about my book, The Little Book for Big Transformation. You can connect with my free meditations on Insight Timer. Just click on that little banner there and go over and get yourself a t-shirt. We got the yoga t-shirt, and yoga is an acronym I use, Your Omni-God Awareness. That's what we're talking about today. So get your yoga, long sleeve, short sleeve. Show them the flow shirt right up there. There you go. The flow hoodies. We got love t-shirts, and everything that we do, 10% goes to another group of people, and I think we're supporting Voices Uncaged as well, will help to support ministries and other people that are making a difference upon this planet. So once again, Brother Paul, I'm just love what you're doing. And we got to give a shout out to Beth Grossman, our PR person. She is the best in the business, isn't she?
She is. I love her. She's great.
Yes. So
I just gotta say, I really enjoyed talking with y'all, and thank you, my yogi brothers of spirit. I love the work that you're doing, and thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you. You are always welcome here in this podcast, in the flow, on the New Thought Media Network. Thank you so much. Thank you. And everyone, we love you. We're sending out love to you. And remember, transformation is a choice, and you can choose today. Hey, Brother Chad, till next week.
All right.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode of In the Flow. If you enjoyed this programming, please help us spread this joy. Be sure and give this video a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. New Thought Media Network can be found on Facebook or our YouTube channel. Additional contributions are greatly appreciated at ntmedia.org/donate or find Rev Skip on PayPal and Venmo. New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes, or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.